What's up, everybody, and welcome to Growing Up Gaming, your weekly podcast where we meet a new person of the internet to discuss their childhood with gaming and how it inspired their lives today. My name is Mitch Power. Again, thank you guys so much for returning each and every week to the show. Hopefully you've subscribed on iTunes or Google Play, or you've checked out my Facebook group, or you've gone to YouTube and looked up the podcast there where you subscribed and liked and done all the same shit every YouTuber asks if you do. If you have, great. Thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. This week on the show, we have our guest. His name is Jonathan Beeler. You may know him as at Jonny Casino on Twitter. He is on numerous podcasts out there, and he was nice enough to be a guest on mine, so thank you again, Johnny. If you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at MitchPower1116 on Twitter, or at the podcast Twitter page, which is at GUG Podcast on Twitter. Without further ado, let's get things started with Jonathan Beeler. Do you remember what got you started playing games? Do you remember if it was Buddy, a family member, a kiosk at a Toys R Us that's no longer around, rest in peace? Do you remember what it was?
So I actually ended up in a text message deal with my stepdad recently, and by recently I mean today.
Prepping for the show. Good job.
Yeah, and by today I mean tomorrow because it's 1:22 in the morning. Right. So I asked him because I have these memories, and I have these memories of a keyboard that connected to a TV in what would have been, I don't know, the living room or something in our house. And so I was like, hey, did we have this thing? And it turns out, so we owned a couple of systems when I was a kid. We owned a VIC-20. Do you know what a VIC-20 is?
Zero clue.
So a VIC-20, yeah, funny story. I had no clue either. It was made by Commodore.
Okay.
And it ran until 1985. We had a VIC-20, and we had some. I'm sure I remember some math games that my mom made me play. I remember some stupid games of different sorts, right? But the thing I remember the first was a game called BC2 Grog's Revenge.
That sounds like the most 80s title of a video game I've ever heard.
It was on the Commodore 64. Okay. And I'm not that much older than you, so stop thinking that.
No, we're good.
But apparently, so I messaged him today, and I was like, hey, did we have a Commodore 64 when I was a kid? And apparently we borrowed it from a school. Now, I don't know what school we would have borrowed it from, but we borrowed a Commodore 64 from a school.
Okay.
Over the summer, and I played this game called Grog's Revenge, and this was like my earliest memory of a video game ever. And you're a caveman, you're on this like stone wheel, and you're going either up or down a mountain. I would assume down, but I think I remember up.
Right.
Gravity may or may not be your friend.
Right.
And then you'd go into these like there'd be like a opening into the mountains, like a cave type thing, and you'd go into that, and it would be pitch black, and you'd have to, I don't know, through doing it and failing a number of times, figure out when to jump. But I remember playing this game. And did you ever play a Commodore?
I personally haven't, no.
Okay, so it's literally a keyboard with a slot for a floppy or a cartridge of some sort going into a TV.
Gotcha.
And I remember sitting there on the floor and playing this game and loving this game. I'm looking at it now. It probably wasn't so great.
Yeah, that's the only problem is that when you're a kid, flashing images in front of your face is always awesome until you get old enough to develop a brain and you're like, oh no, was that actually good? Yeah, like I was just going to say, like, I think what I want to do one day is hear what people's first game was. And if I've never played it, stream me playing that game, like through legal means, obviously.
Sure.
Allegedly, I would never use an emulator or anything. But, yeah, I mean, that's, again, a game I've never heard of. It definitely sounds like it was from the 80s. It 100% does. I'm sure it had radical colors and such.
I mean, you could look this up on Wikipedia because Wikipedia is amazing.
I was going to say, I'm sure the cover art or the box art for it was probably awesome. And then the graphics, of course, didn't represent any of that. I like how you said you went up or down because God knows how we could tell, right? Because some of those games were just kind of weird and showed very different things. But
Yeah. If I remember correctly, so I'm looking at the picture here of the box art. Let me pull this up here. It looks like you're going up a circular-ish mountain.
Okay.
You're definitely going on a thing with no mechanical device that would make you move. So picture in your mind here, Mitch, a chunk of stone that you have cut into a circle.
Okay.
You've cut a hole into it and put another chunk of stone in there for you to stand on.
Gotcha.
Now, how is this going up a mountain? I don't know. But the Commodore made it work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No need for it's not a unicycle with pedals. You're basically standing on a circle, however, going up. I mean, again, video game logic, right?
Yeah, and this was BC2. So I don't know what happened in BC1. Like I have a feeling that I missed out on a lot of story. Like this man might have lost his children, might have lost his wife to a pterodactyl.
It's a prequel for God of War.
Mammoth.
It's a prequel for God of War.
You never know. You never know what happened to this poor guy in BC2, but he is now trying to get to the top of this, and he has to go through these tunnels that are pitch black. And I think you collected coins. I say I think because it's been 30 years plus.
Sure. Oh, you mean you haven't played it on the Commodore 64 collection?
I mean,
sure,
I don't
know. That probably doesn't exist.
There is a mini Commodore coming out, I think. God. And I looked at this because I saw it and I'm like, well, I collect all the other minis. I have to have this.
Right.
I did not see Grog's Revenge on there, so I think I just threw it out of my cart.
Yeah, exactly. Pass. It doesn't have the first game I played. How would I dare play this?
Yeah. So I played that. I think there were some math games.
I wonder if that's the reason why I was at a school, because of the math games. Because the school board probably was like, these are going to be educational. Let's give them to the children.
Well, but the math games might have been on the VIC-20. So I texted my stepdad today. And I was like, hey, what about this? And he's like, hey, we had a VIC-20 and we borrowed a Commodore 64. And he gave me some list of some games, but I have no memory of any of them. Like, I remember my mom sitting there going, do your math games. And being like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
But I have no memory of anything other specifically than the fact that there was math games and there was riding a wooden circle around up a mountain with no propellant.
Right. Well, I mean, you also have those types of games where, I mean, I'm sure when I was younger, I played a lot of games that I just don't remember. But I mean, there's certain games that get stuck in your head that for whatever reason, right? Whether it's your first, whether there was some, it's almost like, you just have a good memory attached to them or a bad memory attached to them. And that's what the ones that are sticking out. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of games that I played that if I went back and played them today, I go, I never played this game. This is crazy. But again, when you're a kid, you don't remember everything, but you remember the good ones or the really bad ones. And that's kind of what this show has proven, because obviously you remember that game or, you remember that, but more the math games. I'm sure you played a bunch of other stuff too, though.
But Grog's Revenge, which, by the way, so I've thought about this game a lot in the last couple of years, and I've never known what it is. And I did a search a few days back. I'm like, I know I played this game, so I did a search for riding wooden wheel through caves, and it came with Grog's Revenge. And I started looking at the picture. I'm like, this is the game. This is the game I played. And I remember loving it so much.
That's so awesome. I'm glad that you found it. That's really good, because a vague Google search might not pull up that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It might just be like, that was 7 games. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? We don't know what it was. Same thing with me. I remember there was a game called The Guardian Legend. Now, here's the thing. I remember the cartridge. I remember the label for the cartridge. If you asked me what that gameplay was, though, I couldn't tell you. I just don't remember it. However, I remember playing it. I remember what the cartridge looked like. I straight don't remember what the gameplay was. I really don't.
And that's the thing, I don't remember what the cartridges look like. This could have been on a floppy disk for all I know.
Right.
I mean, so this was a time in my life where I was playing this. At some point, a computer came into play. At some point, I played Atari games with my dad, because my parents were divorced when I was very young. Okay. So I would go see my dad. So I have memories of playing Atari with my dad, but I don't know how the timeline of when these things were relevant and when these things actually happened in my life is just blurred.
Right. Well, again, though, I mean, like, that's the crazy thing is that you think about it, though, like, back then, there's just chunks that you remember. Obviously, it's not like most people have a photographic memory where they can remember every game and everywhere they were when they first played this game. I mean, most people just have the chunks of the good things. I mean, it's at least cool that your dad not only played, but also encouraged you and played games with you. Like, that's at least really cool, you know, because some parents are very much opposite of that.
Yeah, well, and I got lucky. So my stepdad, and I'm sure we'll get to this in a minute when we get to talk about the NES and everything like that. But he was the reason I've beaten some of the games I've beaten, right? But my dad, right? So he had an Atari. He lived in an apartment at the time, and I remember going over there and playing Atari basketball with him. Now, have you ever played the Atari?
I have, but not, man. I mean, most of your Pong, Pitfall, you know, like the basics and stuff, but I never got too deep into it because I was more NES at the time. Like, my grandma had an Atari that was in the basement that was kind of like, oh yeah, that's the old thing, and I'd plug it in and I'd play like the basics, you know, like standard stuff. I'm like, that's cool, but never got into like the deep catalog, the backlog of the Atari.
Do you remember from looking back at this? So the Atari had a joystick. It also had like the little, I don't know, circular thing you could turn for playing Pong. But if you had the joystick, do you remember how many buttons were on that?
One.
Yeah, one. Now imagine playing 2-on-2 basketball and having one button.
How's that work?
Yeah, good question. So
did Atari
my dad and
that question?
Yeah, I remember going to my dad's house and him being like, I want to play basketball. And I had this weird paper basketball game and whatever. I was saying, no, I want to play the Atari game. Like, all right, let's play this. And we would literally run up the field and shoot because that was the button we had. After a period of time, of which I'm going to say is a year, but I mean, it could have been 2, it could have been 6 months, I don't know. We finally realized that if you both hit the same button at the same time, it would pass. So to pass the ball, you had to hit the button at the same time. If not, you shot it.
Wow. So you had to actually talk to ask for the pass. You had to coordinate it almost like a real life game. You'd be like, pass me the ball. I got you.
Like, yeah, but think about this. Think about Shaq sitting there going, pass me the ball.
Exactly. Yeah,
and Kobe obvious. Being like, are you an idiot? Like, they're going to intercept this as I pass it to you.
Right.
But no, it took us like literally like a year, maybe longer, maybe less. I don't know. But it took us a serious period of time until we realized that, wait a minute, you could do more than just run up the field and shoot. And we learned how to pass. I don't know if we won games, and I remember not caring about the graphics.
Well, I mean, you were limited on graphics. I mean, come on. Like, back then, that wasn't your big and dazzle. It was just shiny lights in front of you that people made everybody happy. You know what I mean? Like, dude, my favorite thing was when they would try to pass off games like Pong, like hockey. No, that shit's Pong. Like, I'm sorry, you made the board orange instead of black, or blue instead of black, but that shit's Pong. That would happen, I'm sure, 100 times. Right.
But Pong was, and then there was a game on the Atari that my dad had called like a tank. It was a Tanks or something like that. You ever played this? I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know how much Atari experience you have.
There was some sort of tank game on Atari. I just don't remember the name.
But there was okay, let me just say this. If there was a game on the Atari and they had a character in there that was something, it was probably named after that. So if there was a tank in the game, it was probably called Tanks.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
If there was a dude named Fred in the game was probably called Fred's.
Yeah, exactly. Just Fred. Just a capital F, proper noun, Fred. Like, okay, this game's called Fred. Asteroids, Centipede, like,
yes,
had the single titles.
There wasn't a lot of thought that went into this.
Yeah. Yar's Revenge, dude, that was next level shit. You had Yar's Revenge acted like there was a story. Like, oh my God, this is crazy.
So we had this tank game, and we would, like, you would go and you could hide behind stuff. And anyways, I don't know the best way to describe it. You had the joystick and you'd move around and you could shoot. Like, you had the one button you shoot. And I used to love playing that game.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, it's crazy to think about too. Like, some of the games, just for what they were able to achieve with the joystick and one button, it's pretty cool. But also too, there was a ton of like rip-offs of just, let's just reskin this game differently. But no, I mean, for the things that they were able to achieve with just the joystick and one button, I mean, good for them, dude. And then, of course, consoles came out with 2 buttons. Bro. Double fun.
That's pretty hardcore right there, huh?
It is pretty hardcore. People are like, 2 buttons? How the fuck do I function? Like, what do I do with my hands?
Well, I mean, you have lots of things you can do with those. But like, I remember the first time I saw an NES. Mm-hmm. So my mom got remarried to my stepdad when I was 5. So that would have been 1985, 86, something like that.
Okay.
And I remember going to my grandparents' house. So I knew my grandparents from my stepdad well before they ever got remarried, right? So we went to the same church. They did like the Sunday school for the little kids and everything like that. So I knew them very well. They're amazing people.
Right.
And I remember going to their house and they had an NES. Not us, but my grandparents had an NES.
Shout out to
and they had NES. Man, you're not kidding. But they had like The Legend of Lolo, which is one of my favorite games still today. Have you ever played that?
Nope.
So it's one of those games where you have to push the blocks to block the thing to get the key to get the exit, right?
Gotcha.
And there's enemies walking around. They also had Gauntlet. It might have been Gauntlet 2.
Okay.
And all I remember is you play that game, and I loved being the elf, which to this day, if I can be an elf, I'll be an elf.
In any game, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they wear greens. That's all that matters to me.
Right.
But you hear this, ow, ow, ow. And that was the sound it made when you got hurt. And I just remember this sticking with me. They had the original Legend of Zelda. I'm sure they had Mario too. But we would go into their bedroom and just sit on the edge of their bed and just play like the NES. And I remember just like, this is awesome. Like, this is what it is. So
you are literally speaking the exact same thing that happened to me. Like, my grandma had an NES. It was in her spare bedroom, which is usually where I slept a lot of the times when I came over and stayed the night. Yeah, but dude, she had it, and for her, it was her Tetris Dr. Mario machine, Pinbot machine. Again, Pinbot. That's a game that I remember.
Wait, what is Pinbot?
So Pinbot is basically just a pinball game, but it had all these robot boards that were like different. So you had like different things you can do on each of the pinball boards and stuff. But again, it's like weird because I remember the actual cart. I remember what the label looked like, and my grandma didn't really like play anything besides the puzzle games and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I would try to get her to play Mario 3 or whatever, and she's just kind of like, nah, I don't really care about any of these. But again, when I was a kid, like, I would see her play Tetris and Dr. Mario, and I was in awe. I was just like, how can someone be this good at these games? This is amazing. Granted, I was just a kid and I didn't have the mental capacity to think ahead of time, you know, because Dr. Mario and Tetris, you got to kind of plot ahead of time to be super good at it. That was the problem with me. I was just like, nah, I just lines, yay. No, dude, she was like throwing pieces in sideways and making sure that this fell with this to do this. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think that far ahead. So of course my grandma was just significantly better at Tetris and all those than I was.
Okay, so you're a few years younger than me. Not a lot, but
right.
But a few years younger. Now, like, so I was 4 or 5-ish, right, whenever the NES came out. I don't know when my grandparents got it compared to when it actually came out in the U.S. Right. I probably didn't get it for a few years after that.
Right.
But you had to have been, like, pretty young.
Yeah. I remember playing and beating Mario when I was 5 or 6. I was born in 86. So, again, like, I didn't play, like I said, like, I didn't, here's what, like, and I've said this before, I don't remember my dad or my mom ever playing games, but there is a photo of my dad playing Mario with my uncle, which I saw and go, where the hell was that guy at when I was playing games? Because he didn't seem interested one bit in playing games. But yeah, I remember I was like 5 or 6 playing Mario. That's like my first memory of it. Just in my grandma's house, sitting in her living room floor, playing Mario. That was the very first memory.
But by that time, the Super Nintendo was out, though, right?
It was like 90.
If you were 5 or 6, and you were born like
91.
86.
Well, I was like, I had to be 5 because it was around 90, 91. It was around that because I remember playing. But like, I also grew up in a family that didn't have a ton of money, so like we rode the NES hard. And then eventually I ended up getting a Genesis. I will say when I got my Genesis, I got it when it came with Sonic 1. So whatever year it came bundles with Sonic 1, because obviously it came bundled with Sonic 1 until 2 came out, until 3 came out, and then that's just how they came bundled or whatever. But
sure,
I remember I definitely got my Genesis, which I'm sure I can look up. I got my Genesis when it came with Sonic 1. I remember that. And I had the old school Genesis that had the volume rocker and the headphone jack, and it was the very first model Genesis. It wasn't the like newer one that had just the 2 buttons. Like, it was the old school Genesis. I remember that was my bundle that I got. But
so
I'm trying to think of what
so the moral of the story is you done screwed up.
Yeah. And again, that's what sucks, because at the time I was like, bro, Sonic is awesome. Sonic.
I mean,
you
fell into the hype.
100%. I mean, Sega was like attitude, and Sonic's cool, and Mario's lame, and yeah, I mean, Sega threw me for a damn loop and ruined my childhood.
Have you read Console Wars?
I haven't. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I would love
you.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, right? So I read this. I say recently. I can't remember how long ago. And it's really the story of the guy who saved Sega and then kind of got screwed over in the end. Like, that's really what they shouldn't call it Console Wars. They should call it, hey, the guy that almost saved Sega, is what they should call the story.
Right.
But man, it's crazy how they show the Super Nintendo and how they show the Sega and how they show, Sonic, who, by the way, I mean, really? Sonic?
No,
yeah.
He's not that good.
No, he's not that good. Like, I let my son play Sonic games.
Yeah, nostalgia will play tricks on your head, because you'll think Sonic was way awesome, and then you go back and play, and you're like, Mario World's considerably a better game in every way, shape, or form. And I can still play that game today and have a blast, whereas I play Sonic, and I'm just like, But again, he went fast, bro, and he had attitude, and he did this with his finger.
He did do those things. Like, all those things are real, but you know what? In the end, that with your finger doesn't get you to the princess.
It doesn't.
It's all about getting the princess.
It is. And, it just sucks because, like I said, I think, like, I will say my uncle kind of influenced my decision for a Genesis, because he went a different route, though. He was like, I have a Genesis and NHL 93. And I was just like...
Wait, is it 94, the one that everyone loves?
I can't remember. He had 93. And I think NHL 93 or 94, that was around that same time when that was the style of gameplay, that like retro style of NHL hockey, where you could hit people and they fall and they bleed and they bust their head and they're bleeding on the floor. And, they had in between the periods, they had the Zamboni that would drive by, or if you pause the game, there was like a Zamboni just like slowly driving by on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but like the NES had, Blades of Steel, and Blades of Steel had the fighting. It had the Zamboni that went between the second and third period, I believe. Also probably my favorite hockey game of all time.
Yeah. And like for me the thing is like, I wasn't even into like a fan of hockey or anything like that. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't into sports as much. I was into basketball because I grew up in Chicago and the Bulls were amazing. So I watched basketball, but like,
what year was this? Was this 1998 and 1990?
Well, they were earlier.
Would I say 7 or 6 or? I'm just trying to point out when the Rockets went back to back on you.
Yeah. Thanks for.
I mean, not to make a rivalry out of this or anything or whatever, but the Rockets did go back to back, and then I stopped caring about basketball after that and went back to video games.
Yeah. If you lived in Illinois when Michael Jordan was on the Bulls and they were winning just like crazy, I think everybody was a basketball fan, even if you didn't really like the game, just because you were happy that a Chicago team was winning something. But
how about the Bears?
Let's not talk about them. But no, like I just remember hockey, and I remember, like I said, like the only thing that appealed to me with that was that you could hit people really hard and you could fight in the game. And that, and again, just playing it at when I went to Texas, I used to go to Texas every year for a month, and
I hear that's a pretty cool place.
It's okay. I mean, sometimes it's full of my family and a bunch of assholes, but otherwise, no, I'm just playing. Texas are good people.
I mean, it's cool. I'm one of those assholes. It's fine.
Hey, it's fine, right? I'm just kidding. I love Texas. It's funny. We're going to Texas on vacation in June. We're going back to Dallas to see my family because my wife was like, I like it here. I'm like, me too.
You know what the problem with the Dallas is?
What's that?
The Cowboys.
Yeah, I know, right? You know what sucks? My family.
The Cowboys.
Yeah. My family tried to make me like the Cowboys for years. They'd buy me like Aikman jerseys and like Dallas Cowboy like helmets and all this stuff. And then deep down I was like, No, I really do like the Bears. And then after a while, I was like, do I though? Like, after they were doing,
let them trick you. Look,
right?
if you have to go after a Texas team, you have a couple choices here. If you want football, you got the Texans. I know it's kind of a dumb name, but they got J.J. Watt. And he's one of the nicest guys out there. If you want baseball, you got the Astros. They might have won the World Series last year. They also kind of got whooped last night by the Rangers. But whatever.
Right. It's just yeah, like when I would go out there, I would get influenced by them because they'd be like, oh yeah, Cowboys are really cool. But then of course my uncle was like, hey, NHL hockey on Genesis is pretty cool. So that was literally like where I went, the reason why I went Genesis. Now again, I didn't even end up getting hockey for myself. Like I literally got a Genesis and I was just like, Sonic's cool and Jurassic Park is cool. And
Jurassic Park was cool.
Dude, Jurassic Park on Genesis was legit. It's still cool. It's still it. And then they had they didn't call it the Lost World, but there was a second Jurassic Park game. I'm so pissed I don't know the name of it, but there was a second Jurassic Park game that came out where you could play as like the raptor or as the guy. Like I'm going to be really mad if I don't Google this right now, but those games on Genesis were super awesome. Like they were super fun to play. And again, that was back when the games were like different. Like the Genesis version compared to the Super Nintendo version were like different games for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Some games that were the same, but then some games were different. I never understood why.
I recently got upset by this actually.
Rampage Edition. That's what it is. I apologize. Jurassic Park Rampage Edition. It was a legit game. It was super fun. But yes, go on.
So I started collecting Genesis and Super Nintendo games, whatever else. And there's been a number of games I collected and realized that there's differences between them, and gotten very upset when I ended up with the one that I did not like.
With the bad one of them? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I want Aladdin on both because there's a difference, but it's not bad.
Right.
But like Sunset Riders, which is a game that I loved from the arcade and from the Super Nintendo, which is also more expensive than I'm willing to pay for a Super Nintendo game these days. I had the Genesis version, oddly enough, a repro on it. It's not as good. It's not as good. Like it just sucks. And so I don't know. I've gotten very upset by this recently. But my buddy, so I had the NES. I eventually got the NES myself, and I want to say my grandparents gave it to me. I say me, my sister, and my stepbrother as a birthday present one year. But I eventually had a friend that had a Genesis, talking about the Genesis stuff, but he had Sega TV.
Yes.
Have you heard of this?
Yep, I sure have. I dreamed of it every day when I was a child, but go on.
So I guess his parents had money. So like you were saying how you didn't come from money.
Correct.
I too came from zero money. Like every game I owned was used. Did you go to Funko-Land? Yep.
Dude, I didn't even know what a Funko-Land was until I went to Texas. And like my grandma was like, there's this store I heard that's just like I don't know what they really sell, but I see a lot of kids coming in and out of there, so we should go check it out one day. And I remember walking in there, and of course your mind stopped and you're just like, what this is amazing. This is like the Mecca.
Yeah. Well, my mom would drop me and my stepbrother off there, and we would like harass the guy to play all the games.
Nice.
And then like pick out one or two, and my mom would come back and buy them for us.
Nice.
And but like at the time they were like $2 games. So like through the NES and the Super Nintendo period, I had no idea what Mega Man was. I had no idea what Metroid was. I had Zelda, which is probably the second game I ever beat, and I have to give all credit to my stepdad on that one because I'm sure he drew out a map for me to beat.
Right. Here's your strategy guide, free from calling Nintendo.
No, well, but see, the thing is like, so my stepdad is probably one of the smartest people I've ever known in my life. And I was thinking about this a while back, and when I was a kid, he would have been in his early 30s probably, and he was beating these games. He was beating Zelda. He was beating Mario. And from watching him, therefore, I would too beat it.
Right. You and I mimic what he's doing. Right. Just pay attention and just do what he was doing.
Yeah. And especially for Zelda, because, I mean, there was a bush you'd have to catch on fire. You would have no idea to burn that bush.
Right.
But he somehow figured it out. And he'd burn the bush. He's like, oh, when I played, I too am going to burn that bush.
I got to remember that. Like taking notes down like a test, like, got to remember burning the bush. All right, cool.
Yeah. And like, I've heard stories of other people where they like had their parents draw up maps and whatever else. He might have done that for me. Like, I didn't ask him when I was messing with him earlier. I didn't ask him, but like, I don't know how I would have beaten that game without this person who is what, your age, slightly younger than me,
right.
like beating it in front of my eyes.
Right.
And so I start to think, and I sit there and like, I play video games a lot right now. I'm like, am I too old to play video games? Screw that. No. Nah. Right. Like my stepdad was doing it. And he's a respectable person.
Right. Yeah. Real quick. I mean, now video games, dude, there's 6-year-old grandmas playing Words with Friends and Candy Crush. Like real quick. Those aren't your traditional video games, quote unquote, but they're still video games and still people enjoy them. I mean, there was a whole movement when the DS came out and the Wii came out of like being active or doing brain games like on the DS. Like I remember working at Game Crazy selling DSs to old people who came in and bought it and Brain Age and Sudoku, and that's it. They didn't.
Did you play Brain Age?
Yes, absolutely.
Brain Age was fantastic.
It was fun. And it was fun. And it was, of course, it was one of those games where you held the DS sideways. You're like, oh, that's fancy. And I mean, it was awesome. But again, like.
But then it also told you that you were 65 years old sometimes.
You're like, hey, stupid. You didn't do this right.
No. But here's the problem. It wasn't they were being stupid. It was you were being stupid. Right. You have the mind of a 70-year-old. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm dying early this year.
Yeah, exactly. When did I have a stroke? I forgot. What happened? Why am I so bad at this? No, like, but I mean, the thing is like the whole stigma about like being too old to play games, I don't think is as relevant now. Obviously, at one point in time, like you're too old to be doing that. Go do X, Y, or Z. Go play this. Go talk to a girl. Go get a job. Go whatever.
Are you supposed to talk to girls?
What? You can't just wait for them to talk to you? I guess not. If you're inside playing games, they probably won't come find you. But
and if they do, you might want to get them arrested.
Then yes, kind of weird. Why are you in my home? I'm just sitting here playing some games. Broke it out.
Well, but then again, why are you in my home? Yes, please.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have to try, so I guess. I mean, fine line between jail time and marriage.
Yeah, there you go.
You gotta figure it out.
It really is a fine line.
It's a fine line. You just gotta figure it out. But no, I mean, like, the whole, like, being too old to play games, I don't think is relevant anymore because, again, my father-in-law, who is older, he still plays games. Granted, he doesn't play games as much. He doesn't play every game, but he's beaten the Uncharted games. He really liked Resident Evil 4. And, you know what I mean? Like, who says that you're too old to play games now? I mean, I don't think there's that stigma anymore. Back then, I'm assuming it was definitely there. Because, again, when you played games, that was a kid thing to do. Or you were a bum if you were older and playing games. You know what I mean? Like, now I don't think that's the case anymore.
So, when you were going through school, right, like, was that a stigma for you? I mean, because, like, I was never part of the cool kids, right? I think I had a discussion with someone recently about this. Like, I was never invited to the parties. I wasn't part of, like, I had two groups and neither of them were cool.
Okay.
But they were both uncool for very different reasons.
Right.
But I mean, were like video games like uncool at that time?
I don't think they were uncool. I just think they were viewed as something kids did. That's like, I think that's what it was. Like, I don't like as a member of the Cool Kid Society. No, I wasn't that either. I had a group of people that there was a group of people, like I had friends that were, I don't remember really many friends being on the exact same level as far as gaming goes. I had friends that were way more into games than I was, so they knew like the super niche RPGs and shit that I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And then there's the kids that are like, oh yeah, I'll play NBA Jam, but I'd rather go outside and play basketball instead. You know what I mean? So like, I always had that grouping where like, there was only very certain points in time when me and my friends were on the same wavelength. It's like, games are important to us. These are the games we're playing together. Whereas certain people were just like on another level of gaming that I just didn't understand at all. And then you had other people that were just like barely played games and they'd rather go outside and do other things. And yeah, that's kind of what happened with me.
And see, like, I was thinking about that recently, and you know, I had the NES, however many years after it came out. I had Super Nintendo, however many years after it came out. But like, I don't remember my parents ever having to kick me outside to play. Like I would go outside with my stepbrother who is 4 years old or something like that. And we would we'd play football in the street, mind you, in Texas in the middle of the summer, barefoot, on the concrete. To give anyone any idea, it's hot.
Just a bit.
Yeah, and we played 2-on-2 football, and because it was me and my stepbrother who played all the time, we would dominate. But then we'd also go inside and play NES play action football. And if anyone doesn't know that game, it is the greatest football game to ever be on the NES. Screw you, Bobby Pauls.
Throwing shade on people. That's fine. No, I'll make sure I tag him by the way.
Yeah,
Bobby Pauls, get to 30 minutes into the show and just listen to that.
No. He and I have definitely had arguments over what's better, Tecmo Bowl or play action football. And I stand by play action football.
Definitely can. I mean, again, like, it's funny is like, I don't remember playing many, like, that's the thing too, is like sports games and stuff. I don't remember playing, I mean, I played NHL, but like, I remember there was this baseball game. I remember when I went to go visit my grandma's family in West Virginia, there was this baseball game they used to play on NES. And I just remember like, for some reason getting caught between first and second base and just running back and forth. Now again, in my head, it went on for way too long. Like, I kept trying.
Sure.
Like, I just remember that vividly, but like the sports games I didn't really play, but like in the same boat though, I didn't really have moments where my parents were like, you play too many games, get out of the house. Cause again, for the most part, I was out of the house quite a bit. My grandma had a pool, so that was always awesome. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to grandma's house and just swim, but I'd go to my friend's house and we'd play in his backyard. We'd ride bikes. We'd play basketball. I mean, we would, there was other things that we would do, but there was still that common thing of video games where every weekend we would just get a game and just go nuts and stay up till as late as we could and stuff. But yeah, my parents I never got to a point. That's actually what kind of sucks now, is because we didn't have the luxury of the internet or cell phones when we were younger. So to socialize, we had to get out of the house. I feel bad now because I don't feel bad. It's just different because I tell my son, why don't you get out of the house and go play with your friends? And he's like, Dad, I am playing with my friends. Like, he's playing online with his friends now. So the thing is like, and he's talking to them, he's interacting with them. So the problem is now is like the whole social interaction thing is happening within your house. So like there's fewer and fewer reasons to leave the house and actually go out and do things. He'll just play games and talk to his buddies, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, you're socializing and stuff, but hopefully you get out of the house. But now it sucks because you can't really say get out of the house and go play or go do something or go hang out with your friends when like now hanging out with your friends is kind of done through your phone or online. Kind of sucks, but
okay, so we were talking earlier about the age of our kids, whatever. So my daughter turns 10 on April 1st. Yeah, I have an April Fool's Day baby, by the way.
My niece is like that, so that had
no one
telling people.
I mean, it's like the day I called people like, hey, Camille's born, and they're like, no, she's not. I'm like, no, I'm not joking.
That literally happened with my brother-in-law. He's like, Scarlett's born. I'm like, shut up. Like, no, I'm at the hospital. Can you please come here? I was like, oh, sorry. I'll show up now.
So, but she doesn't care about games, right? She's 10 years old. She doesn't care about video games. Whatever. She does her own thing.
How'd you raise her, man? What's wrong with you? I'm just kidding.
I mean, she's my princess.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know what to tell you. But my son's about to turn 7, and he loves gaming. Like he has his iPad, he plays games on. I have the Switch, I have the Xbox, I have every old system you can imagine. Well, I have every old Nintendo system you could imagine.
You have the good ones that matter. That's all.
Yeah. And so he has everything to play, right?
Right. And
so he has one friend that lives close enough by for them to get together all the time. It was 2 doors down, and they would just run back and forth between the houses. And that's it. They play together, but when they play together, they're playing on the iPad, they're playing on the Switch, they're playing on the Xbox, playing Goat Simulator for God's sake.
Right.
They play on the Wii U. And I kick him out of the house, make him go jump on the trampoline and whatever else. But like, it's so much of it is them. Like, that's how they hang out, is they will sit there, and it kills me And it hurts me as an adult gamer to look over and seeing my son be like, I'm going to play on my iPad now. I need to play Arrow Buster Jr. I don't know. Name something that makes sense.
At random App Store name generator. It's like Buster Arrow Deluxe Plus.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it kills me, but at the same time, like, I look at what he's playing and I make sure, okay, yeah, this is like making him think to some extent.
Correct.
But like he'll pull up and he'll get on like FaceTime with the same kid who lives 2 doors down, and they can't see each other, but they'll be playing. And the best is when I go downstairs and he's come upstairs and I go down there and like see his iPad laying on the floor and he's on a FaceTime with this kid for like 15 or 20 minutes and has not been downstairs since then. And I'll just like walk up and like sneak from the side and hit like the hang up button and just like sneak off.
Dude, you are striking nerves with me that are just like, that are getting to me. My daughter, who will be 10 on April 16th, she plays games. She was playing Roblox, whatever, with her cousin.
Roblox.
Yeah, with her cousin in Minnesota. She plays The Sims. She recently asked to take my PS4 upstairs so she could play Fortnite with her cousin. So she's,
oh my God.
Yeah. So she plays, like, my kids are going to be gamers for probably forever. But, so she's really into it, but there will be times where they're playing Roblox and she has her phone propped. Now she's on the computer, mind you. Okay. She's literally propped the phone up, pointing towards her, doing a FaceTime while playing the game. I don't know why, but I'm like, hey, you have Skype. She has a Skype name. She has her own she has all that. She has Skype. Why don't you just use Skype on the computer while you're playing the game? And she's like, but I want to see her. And I'm like, you've been on a FaceTime call for 4 hours. Like, your phone is going to explode if you don't do something. Like, please turn off your phone, because it's just FaceTime is not, you're not meant to run FaceTime for 4 hours on your phone straight. Like, your phone battery is going to be dead in 6 months. Please use Skype. It's right in front of you. Just use Skype. You have a webcam. Please use Skype. Just do that for me, please.
Have you ever played Roblox?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so my son loves Roblox, loves Minecraft. I'll play Minecraft with him every once in a while just to appease him and stuff.
I've done it as well.
But like Roblox is one of those games where like I can look at it and be like, I can see where that's a real game. Sometimes I can also see where you make pizza for 50,000 people for no reason.
Right. Yeah, that's the one game there's certain games that I'm like, I get this, but then certain games I sure don't. And every time I walk by, I again, maybe am I old, but I look at the screen, I'm trying to decipher what's even going on. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm just going to walk away. Like, I just don't get it. Certain games.
Do your kids watch YouTube? Like, watch people play games on YouTube? Yeah. So my son and my daughter has actually gotten where she likes it too. Watch a guy called Dan TDM.
I think my son has actually mentioned that guy by name. Yep.
So I can't argue against this guy because he seems like a nice guy. He makes content that's family friendly and all that stuff for the most part. But like, I know everything there is to know about so many video games because I just walk through the house and that's what's on the TV. And I'm like, and I've recently gotten to the point where I try to kick my kids upstairs to the game room. Yep. And the TV was having issues with YouTube. Like, but the Wii U is set up on there. You can literally watch whatever you want on the Wii U, and you can type it in by hand because it's got a touch screen.
Right.
So I haven't had to watch as much, but man, like I know so much about games I do not want to know about because of that.
There's only been one instance in my entire life where I've played a game that my son knew way more about than I did, and it was Minecraft. Like, he had been playing Minecraft forever. He played it initially on like a tablet, then he got it on 360, then he got his Xbox One and played it there, whatever. My buddy Brandon was just like, dude, I'm looking, he's playing Minecraft. I'm like, the hell are you playing Minecraft for? He's like, because it's fun. I'm like, I see my son playing that. I don't know what the appeal is. He's like, well, you own it, because obviously you bought it for him. He's like, just play it and we'll play on it. I've never seen my son's face light up more than the day he walked in seeing me play Minecraft. He's like, oh, Dad, oh my God, you could get this and this. And he just went nuts on me. And I'm like, I love you so much, kid, but I'd love to figure this out on my own if you don't mind. He's like, no, but Dad, but you could get the redstone, you could do this. And I'm just like, holy shit, this is another level of stuff I just don't understand. I'm like, I appreciate that, Alex. Thank you.
I mean, Minecraft is bizarre because my son will play it and I'll be like, okay, I'll play with you. And it's not my style, but I'll be like, okay, you go do whatever. I'm just going to mine for stuff and I'll bring it up to you when I'm done. And I'll just sit there and it's like, literally, I'm just sitting in a hole, holding on a button and putting torches every once in a while.
Right.
It's so bizarre.
It is, and I remember there was only one instance of that game. I played it and I don't know what happened, but I mined somewhere, found some cool shit, died. And then when I came back, I got lost. Like I couldn't figure out where to go. And I got so pissed off to the point where I had this house with all this cool shit in it. And I could not remember where it was that I just stopped playing. I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm giving up.
There's something about the tranquility of Minecraft and the thought of rage quitting something that tranquil that just makes me laugh. You're like, oh, the music's nice. It's a nice setting and fuck this.
Yeah. This piece of shit game. I wish there was a better map system where I could see it. Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm not shitting on it because obviously it's done very successful and I know a lot of people get enjoyment out of it. And the things you can do in the game are quite interesting for what it is. Like I applaud it, but I'm good. I got other shit to play. Like I'm fine. Like,
oh yeah.
And my son will still occasionally play it, but like now my son's getting to the point where he's kind of like advancing like past Minecraft. So he's playing like Ark Survival where you could build cool shit still. And he's playing Subnautica where you could build your own underwater base. Like
I've heard some good things about Subnautica.
Yeah. Just don't play it on Xbox One because it runs at like 3 frames a second.
I mean, that's good because that way I can see better, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. It's in game preview on Xbox One, and it's just, good Lord. You could tell it's game preview because that shit runs at like, I wish I was kidding, 15, 20 frames a second at times. Like, it's really bad. But again, game preview. We didn't have that, though, when we were kids. We didn't have game preview.
No,
your game preview was, what was it? Well, yeah, what did we have?
We had cartridges, and you plugged them in, and they worked. That's
very true. There was no day one patch. If that shit had a bug in it, though, you better hope for a second run of those cartridges to be made.
Man, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I make that joke, but I never ran into that. I also did not have very many games.
Right.
So
true.
So we got like the Super Nintendo, and we got it with the F-Zero.
Okay.
That was what came in the package, and I don't remember how long after it came out that we got it. I also don't remember what grandparent probably paid for it.
Right, because grandparents were legit for getting that shit back in the day. Shout out to my grandma who basically got me all my consoles.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is so my stepdad's parents, who were both teachers up like through high level administrators in the school district and whatever else, they had money to some extent, right? We had zero money to zero extent, and so. Any console we had, I'm sure somehow was tied to them. I don't remember how we got the Super Nintendo. I remember getting it. I remember having F-Zero. I remember F-Zero being one of my favorite games. But like it worked. It turns out when you only have 4 or 5 games, your odds of finding one that's got a game-breaking bug in it is really low.
Right. You're not playing the field. You got the 4 good games. And I'm sure you got the games that were, for the most part, popular enough to where they didn't really have that or
see. Well, you say that, but how? Okay, back then, think back for a second. How did you know? Well, how did you know what was popular back then?
So the thing is, the only thing I can remember that was being popular was what were kids playing at school, and what was on the cover of a gaming magazine that I saw at the grocery store.
Okay, and that's the thing is, I don't remember seeing the game. I don't remember seeing the magazines at the grocery store, and we didn't have the money for the magazines because the magazines cost pretty much every month.
Right.
So like we would go to Funko Land and be like, we're going to try out a few of these games, and we end up with games that were enjoy. Like so, on the NES we had like Base Wars, which I love. Base Wars, one of my favorite baseball games. Cobra Triangle, which if you have Rare Replay, Cobra Triangle's on Rare Replay. It's a fantastic game. But like. So many of these games that were like, oh, you've never played this game? No, I had no idea this was a thing.
Right. Yeah, I like again, it was kids at school, but also too like I would never buy the video game magazines unless I had my own money and I was stupid enough to do that. But because dude, those magazines, by the way, 300 pages, 297 pages of ads. But and again, those ads would influence the hell out of you. Which again, good job, Sega. Thanks, bastards. No, but what I remember is like right next to the video rental place was where they had the magazines and books. So I would go there and I would say, cool, here's EGM. What's on the cover? Oh, that. All right, let me go try to rent that. So that's basically, and then also too, though, I mean, there was games that I was getting that weren't necessarily, I won't say they weren't popular, but they were just based off of other, I mean, back in the day, your licensed games were all over the place. You know what I mean? Your Aladdins, your Lion Kings, your Jurassic Parks, like Power Rangers. Very rarely did I get a game that was off the beaten path, like not as popular. Of course, I try to justify every Sega exclusive that happened to not much avail. You know, your Comic Zones, your Vector Mans, your
okay. Comic Zone, I've recently played.
It's trash,
and it's not like I enjoyed Comic Zone going back to it.
Dude, I played it on Xbox Game Pass. Okay,
that might have been where I played it.
It's on Game Pass, dude. There's certain. Okay, first off, you get hurt for punching doors you need to go through.
The concept of the game is cool.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And I wish there was a game that was like modern day, hand drawn, awesome, you know, cool like that.
Did you ever play Beautiful Joe?
Yes. And if there was close, I mean, that was more like cell shaded, which I dig cell shaded games. Like the way just the art style is and stuff. I like them a lot. But like, I like, as far as the concept of Comic Zone, like the story, it's a generic story. Oh, a guy created comics and all of a sudden he gets sucked into his own comic. It's cool. The gameplay of it, there's so many flaws. There's so many, like, there's special moves that take up health. So there's no special meter. It's just health.
I have not made it that far.
Well, dude, like for example, if you hold down the attack button, he rips off a page of his comic book, turns into a paper airplane and throws it. Okay?
Really?
Yes. Now here's the thing. It is a super powerful attack. It will kill and break a lot of shit. Couple things. One, doing it hurts yourself. And two, you can get hit by your own paper airplane, which will really hurt yourself.
Okay, so I used to make paper airplanes. Every once in a while they would like do a flip and come back and smack you. Is that what this does? Or do you have to throw it, run and get in front of it?
No. So what happens is he like rips it off. He does it.
Okay.
Does this, he throws it straight and it goes through the comic panel. And then it comes back at you like,
why?
Lower. Good question. Why are you zapped into a comic? I mean, there's a lot of questions you could ask yourself. But
okay. I guess we shouldn't try to dive into the lore of why the video games. I mean, I used to love playing Boy and His Blob.
Right.
Which, by the way, if you ever try to play the game without the instruction manual, you're fucked.
Yeah, that's not possible. By the way, instruction manuals, vitally important back in the day. Vitally.
Okay. But how cool is it now that there are companies that are making games with similar instruction manuals? Like Nicholas, I'm saying that wrong. It's not Nicholas, but it's something like that. So if you look back here, I have all my Switch games back there behind me. And there's like Binding of Isaac and It'll Do 2 and a few other ones. And they come with those same instruction manuals and they're so cool.
Shout out. The only company I know that consistently does it and they can do it because they don't give a fuck, is Rockstar. Grand Theft Autos have always come with super solid instruction manuals. And some of them, dude, Grand Theft Auto, like, it was like super thick paper. And it was funny because like some of the ads, there was ads in the instruction manual for games or items that were in the game, you know, like the brands that were in the game. You'd see random shit. And it always came with like a super awesome map of Los Santos or Vice City or San Andreas or wherever you play. And like the cover, like if you look at the cover, it's embossed, so it feels like the letter, you know, the title is popped out. Like Rockstar gives a shit about their packaging, and like everybody else just puts like a terms and conditions in there. That's all they give a shit about. Like,
well, they also have like the website of which to download the digital version of the instruction manual.
Yeah, but I mean, like Rockstar for the last like couple games, like they're the ones who keep putting awesome packaging together. And I'm like, good for you guys. But also too, again, they're Rockstar and they can do what the fuck they want. And I love that.
That's true.
They literally have the most fitting name of a game company to what they actually do. They are rock stars. They can do what they want. They can come out with a game and say, guess what? We're going to show you one screenshot and you'll shut up and you'll be happy. We're going to change.
They don't have to do that. They'd be like, look, we're going to put a 2 at the end of this and you loved the last game, so just go shit your pants.
Dude, they changed their Twitter logo to a red R and it got retweeted like 100,000 times or something stupid, because that was when Red Dead was about to get officially announced. So instead of the yellow Rockstar logo, they literally changed it to a red Rockstar logo, and it was a story on IGN. They were like, Rockstar changed their Twitter icon. They must be about to release Red Dead. When is that going to, like, I'm like, guys, all they did was change a picture on Twitter, and you guys freaked out. Like, go look it up. It's hysterical. But I mean, again, they're the only company I feel that, like, I won't say the only, one of the only companies that can do something so stupid small like that and get the biggest attention from people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nicholas does it, and I don't know how much attention they get, and I don't know who they make things for besides Switch, because that's where I buy all their stuff at. But they do it. They give it that old school look. They also, so I bought, was it Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap or something like that? It's a remake of a Master System game, maybe. And it's really cool because I played it for a while, and you can flip back and forth between the graphics of the original and the current, and it's so amazing.
It's always good.
But,
I like when they do that.
Yeah, it's awesome. But they have that, and then they have the instruction manual and all this stuff, and they got like this little guy here, which is a little dragon thing.
Keychain. Right.
You say keychain.
Well, it's not keychain.
I don't know if I trust.
Yeah,
I think
right.
it's supposed to go on a cell phone.
Yes.
My cell phone doesn't have a hoop on it that I can find, and I'm also a man, so I'm not going to stick that on it. So I'm going to stick that next to all my other toys in front of me, because I'm a man with toys.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I mean, that's what video games are. They're just basically glorified toys, but it's okay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of Hot Wheels that have like all the Mario games on them right here in front of me too.
That works too.
I don't know if you know how cool I am, but that's it right there.
That sums it up right there, right? Pretty much.
Yeah. But man, when you get the instruction manual, or when you don't have it, not having the instruction manual can screw you up as a kid. And back then, and I was trying to explain this to my buddy Ben, because everything he had, like I talked about the early games he had, he's 8 years or so younger. He's like, we'd look online, or we'd look at this magazine or whatever, and this is how we know what games. Like, I didn't have online.
Right. I mean, again, also there was a point in time when that didn't exist when we were kids. So, I mean, there was a world without the internet. I remember, imagine if you had an instruction manual for that basketball game for Atari. All the world.
You would have known ahead of time.
You would have known so much earlier. Dude, I remember the grocery store we used to rent games from. They would half-ass attempt. What's that?
It's a weird thought to rent video games from a grocery store these days.
They had VHS tapes, they had Nintendo games, and that's all I could ask for. But they had the game that came in the case, and it was a clear plastic case. And then there was like a half-ass attempt at the instructions that like how to
Really?
Yeah, it was like, the thing is like they could only print it so big. So some games had like more complex things, especially when it came to like Super Nintendo and Genesis, that they couldn't fit all of the instructions on that little card that are supposed to go in there. So they'd be like sometimes missing shit, and you didn't even know you could do this in a game until you're like, wait, what? Your friend shows you because they have the real game with the instruction manual. Like, oh yeah, the grocery store definitely didn't. They tried. That's about as much as I can say. But then again, if you got to games like Metal Gear and you didn't have the
God,
you were fucked.
Okay, so let's speak of Metal Gear for a second. If you play the original Metal Gear, I have not gotten more than 5 minutes into that game and been able to get through anything.
Same here.
Like, I want to own it. Like, I don't know if I've ever owned it. I think I mostly played on emulators and stuff like that. But
allegedly,
I mean, it was at a time when no one cared.
There you go.
well, and I mean, to be honest, so I have the HD collection for the PS3, and it has the original Metal Gear game on there, but it's very different looking, and I don't understand why. But I need that game. Like, I need to get past those damn dogs who are stopping me at that truck, and I cannot figure out why. There's 3 dogs. Anywhere you walk, they know you're there, and they kill you.
I literally have gotten to that same point and stopped playing. I got Metal Gear. It was on PS2. Metal Gear 3 Subsistence, which was like their ultimate collector's version of Metal Gear 3. Coolest thing in the world, by the way. This was before a lot of people did this. The pre-order bonus for it was a DVD of all of the cutscenes from Metal Gear 3 stitched together into a movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so awesome. And I sold that collector's edition for so much money later on. I was like, let's just see how much this is worth. Holy shit. With the pre-order disc, it was worth a lot. But it came with,
as well.
It came with, 1 and 2, like the original, like MSX version in Japan, I think it was. I think that's, I'll probably be stupid in saying that wrong. But, Yeah, I came with the original version. I remember playing it and literally getting to that point, and I was like, the fuck? I don't know what to do. And I just stopped. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to keep playing this. I'm fine. But yeah, I mean, like those games, again, if you didn't have instruction manuals, if you didn't know a person who played the game, your only other option was to call the Nintendo hotline and fucking ruin your parents' phone bill.
Yeah, which, by the way, like I'm thinking back at it and hearing people talk about calling that. I don't think I even knew that number.
I knew the number because it was everywhere, all over like game cases and stuff like that. Like I remember the number, but I also knew if I even thought about dialing that number, I would probably get my ass beat. Like, what did you do talking for an hour to Nintendo?
So, you say it's all over the game cases. I don't know if I owned a game case. Like everything we owned was used.
Right.
Because it's just, it's the world I lived in, whatever. And like, I'm not bitter about this or anything, but like everything we owned is new. And I had the important ones. I say the important ones. I had Mario, which was the first game I ever beat, was the first Super Mario Brothers. After watching my stepdad, I was able to beat that. And I had the original Legend of Zelda. But I knew nothing. I knew nothing about these numbers. And odds are, had I known about them, like it scares me to think of if I would have called them or not.
Yeah, because I it was back in the day when there was all these numbers that you got charged per minute, and I just remember seeing the fine print where it's like $1.95 a minute. I'm like, if I talked for 4 minutes, my parents would be pissed. Like, let alone like, what kind of info am I going to get in 4 minutes from any of these people? Probably not a lot. So I didn't even bother doing it. So, but again, you had your stepdad who kind of was your Nintendo line.
Yeah.
Because you just watched him play. And
turns out, smart freaking dude.
There you go. That works. So as you continued playing, did your parent or your stepdad and your mom and like whoever, did they continue playing games with you, or did they get to a point where they were like, all right, we're done with this? Like, did they get to 64 where 3D happened? They're like, fuck this.
Well, so I don't remember my stepdad playing anything past the NES. Like, he might have played the Super Nintendo, but I have no memory of that. We had a Super Nintendo. I actually have our original Super Nintendo upstairs right now. That's awesome. Ganked it at my parents' house. We had that, and I remember some certain games, but like at that point, it was one of those things where like I played with my stepbrother some. It wasn't a huge deal. It was like, okay, if it was too hot to play outside, we'd play this or whatever else. If a friend came over, we'd play it. My buddy had the Genesis. I had the Super Nintendo. He had Sega TV, where by the way, trying to play a rugby game and having no idea what the rules of rugby are was really difficult.
Fair enough. Same thing with hockey when you didn't know hockey rules. I mean, again, I just played a hockey game to knock people over and fight them. Yeah,
there you go. But like they kind of stopped playing, and then I even like I don't say I moved away from gaming, but like it wasn't a huge deal for me even through all this time until I got to like the PlayStation era, and because I want to say the original PlayStation came out before the N64,
right?
By like a year or something like that.
I think a year earlier.
And I worked for a guy where he would buy crates of stuff from Sears. I think the way it worked is he would pay flat fee, crate of stuff from Sears, no idea what we're getting. We take it all out. Me and a bunch of other 14-year-olds would clean it up and get it ready for him to resell. And a PS1, like original PlayStation, came through, and I'm like, I want this. So he just took it out of my paycheck, which I got paid way better than any of the 14-year-old would imagine. Making more than minimum wage as a 14-year-old was freaking fantastic.
Well, yeah, because you're 14. What incentive do they have to pay to? What incentive do they have to pay you more than what they minimally have to? Like that's yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean 14, 15, somewhere around there. But like I remember having that, and so I actually moved away from Nintendo at that point. Like I did not have an N64 until when I did. Well, like when I got married, my wife had one, which was awesome because her and I would play Mario Kart against each other and stuff like that. And honestly, she kicked my ass. But like I didn't have one as a kid. I didn't own one again until like 2 years ago when I bought one because I had to have one on that shelf next to all the other systems.
Right.
But yeah, he didn't like my stepdad. My mom never played games. My stepdad seemed to have fallen off. Like we would play computer games. I was the only person I knew at that time period that had 6 to 7 laptops or computers hooked up together to play StarCraft.
Like LAN parties type of deal.
Yeah, in our house at all times.
Jesus.
Yeah, so what my stepdad would do, and I found this out later, is he would just take parts of computers and build them into bigger ones, and somehow ran cables through our walls, and we would sit there and we would like one person, and it was slow as hell, but playing that and playing Doom and playing God knows what other game I probably should not have been playing at the time.
Right.
But yeah, that's how he kind of set all that stuff up. But I don't remember him playing much past that.
And again, like I think, and again, I don't want to think it was that stigma of like, oh, if you keep playing games, you're too old to play games or whatever. Like I don't think it would be that, but also too, I mean, some people just they got locked down at a certain time. You know what I mean? Some people it was Atari, some people it was NES, some people it was PlayStation. Like some people just get locked in for a certain number of years where like they love doing that, and then they just find some other shit to do. You know what I mean? Like that tends to happen.
Well, what happened to us? We forgot about the other thing we should love doing?
No. Because I did for about 4 years. I didn't really play any games, period. Like I stopped completely because I fell in love with skateboarding. I literally, only game I played was Tony Hawk. That's it. I didn't play anything else. But even then, I was like, I'd play the new Tony Hawk game at a buddy's house for like 2 weeks, and I'd just be like, that's cool. And then that's it. You know what I mean? It was just weird how I literally avoided, I didn't give a shit about games. I didn't have a PS2. I didn't have any of these newer consoles. Like I was that idiot going into Best Buy going, do you have Tony Hawk 4 for PlayStation 1? And they were looking at me like, did you say PS1? I'm like, yeah, because I didn't have a PS2 because I didn't give a shit to own one. I just wanted to skateboard more.
So, like, during the time that the PS1 was out, I graduated high school. I joined the Navy, and somehow, and I can tell you how, but like, I had the PS1. I had the PS2. I bought myself, by the way, the only birthday present I got that year was me buying myself a PS2.
That sounds like a good gift to me.
Yeah, but it's weird when you're like, happy birthday to me. Okay. Well, like everyone else forgot.
It's birthday, but I got a cool gift, but it's really sad.
Yeah, but I bought it myself.
Yeah, right.
So,
exactly.
And it was a sweet DVD player, I guess.
That's what everybody bought. That was the way to convince your mom to buy it when you were younger. Like, Mom, we need a DVD player. This thing plays DVDs. Oh yeah, and Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah, except for I had to buy it myself because I was off on my own and everyone else forgot I was alive.
Right.
So I did that, and then I got married and I bought a PS3. I've had every PlayStation since, but like I too went through periods where I didn't play much, but it wasn't that I was into something cooler like skateboarding, because sadly I had no friends around me that skateboarded, and looking back, I wish I had. Mm-hmm. I just didn't have time.
Fair enough. I mean, the one thing that's funny is literally playing Tony Hawk led me to skateboarding, which led me to not playing video games anymore. Like, it's funny how, because now I don't know of many games that could do that. It's not like all of a sudden I'm playing Madden and I'm like, you know what sounds good? Playing real football instead and not playing Madden anymore. Like, it's just.
This is the real question though with all this is, did you go and do 75 kickflips in one jump? I
didn't, but I wanted to get to a point where I thought that was real. Like, it's funny because like it's funny because when I was skateboarding, Tony Hawk 1 was more. They got less and less realistic. You know what I mean? They just got more and more outrageous.
Were they ever realistic to begin with?
So to jump and do 4 kickflips off the ground is not very easy to do. Very few people can do it. But in the first,
I don't think it's possible actually.
No, it's possible. I've seen it.
4 kickflips in one go.
Yeah. I'll show you a YouTube video. I'm not kidding. They exist. But what I'm saying is like, it's funny because like when I first played Tony Hawk, like I learned how to skateboard, and learning how hard it is to do the trick that you can just hit left and square to do. Learning how difficult that is to do in real life and actually accomplishing it it's weird, but if anybody's ever skateboarded and landed a trick, landing a trick while skateboarding that you've been trying over and over and over, it's the same feeling like beating a game that you've been trying over and over. But like, there's just this feeling of like, it's hard to describe, but you feel like you just accomplished the greatest thing in the world. Like, it's just weird. But like with skateboarding, it was like that because I had that for years. Like, there were still new things I was learning and new things I was accomplishing. So I had that feeling like that for years. And until I started working at a video game store after high school, I didn't really give a shit to go back and play games. I was just like, dude, skateboarding's way more fun. And then I was like, and the only thing that's cool about taking a break is you come back and go, holy shit, I missed a lot of good things in 4 years. And you could just catch up on everything you missed. It's the only
so I'm going to lower your opinion of me for a minute. Okay. And I don't know what opinion you have of me to begin with, but it's going to drop about 10 notches.
Sounds good. Let's go.
So I played street hockey and stuff like that when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was not the finesse player, but I had a slap shot that would literally split your balls into many pieces.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah. Our goalie was amazing, but would not let me take slap shots on him.
Fair enough.
Now, when I went off to the Navy, I finally get to a base. It actually had a skate park in it, and I'm playing a lot of Tony Hawk. Tony. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, like I need to do this. Like I need to one day do a kickflip.
Yep.
Now, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, I have never done one. Okay. I have never done an ollie.
Okay.
I bought skating shoes before in my life. I bought multiple skateboards. I have never to this day done an ollie. I can stop myself from falling off every once in a while, but that's about as far as I get.
Right.
So I got to the point where like we're going to go out to the skate park because we were playing this video game. And I finally got to where I could drop into a half pipe and not eat shit.
Right. Lean forward. Always lean forward.
Yeah. No, it helps. Yeah. But eventually I'm like, you know what I'm good at? Skating. So what did I do? I went and bought aggressive inline skates. And I could tear up. Yeah, I can see the look on your face right now.
It's and been that's good talking to you. Anyways, if you want to follow the show, go to GUG Podcast on Twitter. No, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
That's at 10 notches. I knew was going to happen because I got the skates. And up until about 2 years ago, I was still skating with them until the straps finally broke. But I could drop into half pipes. I could go up the ramps. I could do all these things. I could grind. But still, I was about 50 steps below a badass because I was on skates and not on a skateboard.
I will tell you that now are people on scooters.
Dude, you're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Like, you see that and you're like, that guy's pretty cool, except he's not.
He's on a scooter. You know, it's funny because, like, I have 100% grown into the old guy. I go to skate parks. I still skateboard, okay? Which is crazy to think, but I still do. Not as aggressive as I was before because I, have a family and job and a mortgage and all those things. What's the responsibilities? So I go to the skate parks. I'm literally the old guy at the park now. So I'm still skating and kids are like,
ever like call the cops and be like, this weird guy's here. He probably shouldn't be.
No, because I'm still doing tricks and stuff. And they're like, oh, I guess he kind of belongs here. I had one kid tell me, I hope I can still skate as well when I'm as old as you. And I was like, oh, thanks, you little fuckhead. Like I just was like, thank you. I don't know if that's an insult or not. But now I see all these kids on scooters and I'm just like, yeah, you guys are on scooters because it's easier. And I'm sorry.
But you see that now?
Dude,
I thought that was a phase that went through and passed.
I promise you they're going to start changing the names to scooter parks instead of skate parks. I swear to God. I was there. There was probably 30 people there and about 3 skateboarders. And I was just like, oh no,
everyone else with scooters?
Everybody else with scooters.
Were there any badasses that were like, look at me, I'm on inline skates?
No, nobody was on inline skates. But no, there was a couple of people. No, absolutely not. Here's the thing though. I can understand certain degrees of like, even when people were on inlines and they're doing certain things, I'm like, wow, like flips and shit. I'm like, okay, that's some next level shit. Good for you. Like that takes some talent. I'm not saying
that was me.
No, right. But there are some kids that I see straight up on scooters doing like flips in front of me. And I'm like, I'll applaud you because that probably took you a very long time to learn how to do. And I'm sure you got terrified to do it your first time, but you landed it. Good for you. And then I see a bunch of people just dropping in and scooting around. And I'm like, all right, you guys need to go somewhere else. I don't want to see you guys in my way. Please get out of the way.
So am I the only person who bought and connected with the aggressive inline skating game for the GameCube?
I'm going to do a Google search. Yep, you sure are. You sure are. You know what's funny though? It's like I snowboarding games were really popular, but I hate the cold, which is why I moved to Arizona. Inline games I never played. Tony Hawk obviously was like huge. The Dave Mirra, like the BMX games or the Matt Hoffman like clone of Tony Hawk, those were okay. But yeah, like the aggressive inline game for GameCube, I knew it was available.
Is you missed out on one of the greatest things ever.
Sure, sure.
Because I literally, if you walk in my garage right now, on my shelf next to all my beer making equipment, is my aggressive inline skates. Now, granted, they have not been used aggressively in.
They're just now inline skates. They're not 14. Aggressive.
No. They're still built the same. Here's the difference. If anyone out there knows this, right? Because I actually have rollerblades now because my daughter likes to rollerblade and I rollerblade with her. And because I'm freaking cool. Aggressive inline skates will have like a flatter wheel on them and they have this like gap between the second and third wheel for grinding.
Of course.
So they're still aggressive skates. They're just not quite an aggressive skater in them.
Right. But dude, don't get it twisted. You could do a grind out of nowhere. You could just impress some kid out of nowhere. You could do it.
I mean, I would have to fix the skates first.
Yeah, you'll be fine though. Just one day you should do it just to impress like some kid and they'd be like, who skates anymore? Then they'll go away.
Yeah. And I'd be like, here's what I would do too, is I would do that and I would like wink at them. And I would take them off and never put them on again.
Yeah, exactly. Just retire. Like, you got to go out on top, bro. Seinfeld did. You can too.
George tried that in one episode of Seinfeld. Seinfeld did definitely not go out on top.
They were still high in the ratings. That's all I'm saying.
Well, sure, but that last episode was terrible.
Yeah, it was trash. It's okay. Jerry Seinfeld made billions. Whatever.
Sure. He got more views in the Super Bowl that year. It's cool.
Yeah, him and Larry David. Good job for you guys.
Oh, my God, Larry David.
Good job. That could last to another podcast, the how funny Curb Your Enthusiasm is.
Yeah.
The show is amazing. But aggressive inline on GameCube, so that's cool.
It was a great game, man. It was okay, so here's the thing.
I won't knock it because I didn't play it, but again, as a skateboarder, I saw aggressive inline on the cover and went, I'm good. But then again,
I'm sure you were.
But again, it's not like the Tony Hawk games at that time were really any good either. Because after Underground 1, they were starting to just...
So my favorite skating game has to be the Skate series.
Yes.
Because it's realistic.
That's correct.
I mean, I don't know if it's 100% realistic.
3 got ridiculous, but Skate 3...
It's still realistic.
100%, but I mean, you can't jump into a dam from that high.
I mean, you might not be able to. I mean, I can.
Of course, you can.
You know what the best part of Skate 3 is? Because that's the one I played the most recent. It's on EA Access or Game Pass or something like that. It has what's his name? Oh my God, he's an actor that used to be a professional skateboarder. Jason Lee, yes. Yeah. Jason Lee is like the main guy that teaches you at the beginning.
The coach, yes.
Jason Lee is amazing. He's one of my favorite actors, and he's so.
He was a pro skater beforehand, though.
I knew it before I saw him on that game.
Yeah,
Jason. Then again, I saw him on that game years after that game came out.
Dude, he was a pro early '90s. Like he was a pro then, and again,
but he wasn't like a top pro. Like he was a pro.
No. Back then he was. He was literally in Video Days, which is considered by some like one of the best skate videos ever made. Like he was one of the top people. But then, as soon as he became an actor, like he did that instead. But what's funny is like I didn't know he was a pro skater, and all of a sudden I'm going through skate magazines. I'm like, wait, that's the dude from Mallrats. Like, why is he in this ad? And then I found out.
That's the guy from My Name is Earl.
Yeah. Earl can still do a 360 flip if you ask him to right now. Like,
dude, that's what's done. Tony Hawk can do like a 960 or whatever and right. Off these. Oh my God, the dude's like 80 now. I mean, now he's really like 40, but
dude, that's a hard 40. That's a rough 40. Like,
oh my God, you're not kidding.
You got some city miles on your legs there, bro. Your knees are probably destroyed to all hell. But yeah, dude, I mean, you stay loose, bro. That's what you gotta do. That's what I'm trying to do.
Stay loose, bro. That's the motto.
Yeah, stay loose, bro. That's what you gotta do. No, I try, but
and strap wheels onto both feet. Like that's the key. Like, cause here's what I want you to understand, right? You might have been on their skateboard, all looking cool for the ladies, but you could bail off those wheels. I was out there. I couldn't bail off those wheels. I had to take it or eat shit. And often I ate shit and the women just kept walking.
Hence why I skateboarded. I got scared of a bike. The bike is terrifying because that thing, you could throw the bike away from you, but still that thing bounces in unknown ways. That could still bounce up on you. And also too, biking's hard because the bike's heavy and I'm weak, but let's not talk about that. Cause I was
tried pulling a wheelie once on a bike and ran over a tennis ball in the same move. And I about wrecked this dude's super expensive, lightweight, bike.
Yeah. And then that's when you're just like, I'm so sorry. I'll never do that again. Here's your bike.
No, his back was turned. I just took it back to him and handed it and walked away slowly.
Good. I'm sure
he has no idea. I'm sorry, Quentin. I'm sorry.
Oh, at least you're willing to admit it now. At least that works. So
he doesn't listen, you're good.
Right. So obviously you've continued gaming. You are now the proud owner of did you ever really stop though? Like you never.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You did.
No, I did. So I joined the Navy.
Right.
And I all of a sudden ran out of time for anything.
Sure.
I went to the nuclear power program, and so I would wake up at 6 a.m. Yeah, I know. I was the dumb kid in that group, by the way. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. I would go to school. And this was 6 months of school for multiple different schools. Each one was 6 months or so. But I'd go to school a day, and then I would go home. I would change clothes out of my uniform. I would come eat. I'd come back. I'd be at school till midnight and get up at 6 a.m. and start the day over, right? This was just my thing. I left that. I get out to a boat, and when you first get out to your first boat, I was on a submarine, it's all about working hard and qualifications and whatever else. Right. And then by the time that ended, I got married. And so it was just this continuous thing of not having time for games.
Sure.
But I tried to catch up. I had the PS2 when I was going through nuke school. After my wife and I got married, I bought a GameCube, and I took a GameCube out to sea with me. And that thing, I don't say it saved my life. That's stupid. But it saved my sanity easily.
That's fair enough statement.
I was lucky enough to be in a rotation where I would work from 6 o'clock at night till midnight. So 6 p.m. to midnight, I would work. And then if nothing was going on, I had from midnight to 6 p.m. with nothing happening. So I would help them clean up everything, to get ready for the midnight meal. And then me and my buddy would sit there and just play Mario Kart, it would be Double Dash at the time, or Smash Brothers Melee. And we'd put it on the big TV. We're the only ones awake from midnight to 6 a.m. And we would play that for 6 hours a night for months on end while we were out to sea.
That's good stuff. That's a good way to kind of take your mind off of a lot of probably things that are going on at sea.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah.
So we did that, but I didn't get back into gaming big time until, man, it must have been 4 years ago. I went through this gap where I missed so much stuff. I missed the N64 because I went PS1. I had the PS1 and played a bit. I had the PS2 and had 2 or 3 games for it. I had the PS3 when it came out. I had the Wii launch day. I pre-ordered the Wii. I remember walking past people at Walmart hoping to get the Wii on launch day.
Right.
And just be like, why the fuck didn't y'all pre-order this? You just pre-order it and then it's just there for you.
Yeah, no, not with the Nintendo and their scarcity, their artificial scarcity on consoles.
Yeah, but I pre-ordered. I had it ready to go. But I just had no time for it for all these years. And finally I got out of the Navy and I'm just hit with all these games. And I'm just like, now I need everything.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with me. I got a job at a video game store and I was like, I had access to everything. And I was like, shit, that's cool on Xbox. That's cool on GameCube. That's cool on PlayStation. And from there, it hasn't stopped because I transitioned more into, I won't say being an adult, but yeah, being an adult. I didn't have time to go skateboarding as much. I had more time at home with my family and my wife and my kids and stuff. So then it just transitioned to I can do this while being at home and, I don't have to leave the house to play games or whatever. So then basically since I've been all of high school, I barely played games. Right after high school, so 4 years, I barely played shit. And then afterwards is when I just went nuts and haven't stopped since. So,
I I remember, talking about being an adult and having families and all that stuff. So my daughter was born, and right before my daughter was born, I had shoulder surgery. And my arm was like stuck in this like weird sideways thing. And the Wii was like my savior because the controllers, I mean, they were separated by a wire, a cord or whatever, but like you had some distance. And I have this picture after my daughter was born, and it was like that system, I think, saved my sanity during that time because I could lay there, have her with me, and just play that and not have to worry. I could hold her if I needed to hold her, whatever. And, God, it must have been a year ago. Actually, a little bit more than a year ago now. Sean Capri had, put out that he was having a baby and all that stuff. I remember finding this picture and sending it to him. We're like, this is what you have to look forward to. Right. And it's this picture of like my daughter like propped up against my legs and me holding the Wii controller and stuff. And so I was trying to game them, but man, it's tough when you're an adult.
Yeah, because mortgage and family, No, I'm just fine. Yeah, that just be. Work. I mean, yeah, work, full-time jobs. God, no. I mean, like you have to do that, but you just have to find the time. That's why now lately, I tend not to fuck around with games that I don't feel are going to be a complete. If I play a game and I know it sucks, I'll admit it sucks and get rid of it. I don't have that fear of like missing out. Like I'll just play shit that I want to play. And if I don't play it, who cares? Example, Resident Evil 7 came out last year. It's supposed to be good. I don't fucking know. I had backlog games that I needed to play already. Guess what? There's a gold edition out now that has all the DLC. It's Xbox One enhanced, and maybe one day I'll pick it up on sale for $20 and play it then. That's kind of how I've gotten now.
When Resident Evil 7 got announced, it made me tingle on the inside because one of the earlier games I remember from the PS1 was Resident Evil 2. And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed. My buddy was over. The lights were off, and we just screamed over and over again as like dogs flew through the window.
And the liquor showed up for the first time, and you lost your shit.
Yeah. So when Resident Evil 7 went on sale for like, I think I pulled off like $15, something like that on Xbox. Like I knew I had to have it, and oh my God, it did not let me down. I have never been that like scared and heart beating that fast in a video game ever. And I was playing like a well-lit room.
Right.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, by the way, fuck VR and headphones with that. No.
Oh, no. I would do that in a heartbeat. So like for me, it's one of those things where it's like if you're feeling that, you're feeling something.
Right.
Right. And so like the more intense that feeling, the more I don't want to say like I cut myself to stay alive. It's nothing like that bullshit. Right. But like when you get that fear, it's real. And oh my God, I would love to play that in VR so bad.
The only one that lately has done that for me, just scared me, was Evil Within. The first Evil Within is Resident Evil 4 was just the worst story I've ever heard, ever. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's just stupid. And it was just full of jump scares, which suck, but also, too, you're just like, oh, God, these jump scares suck. The second one, there was only one, like, jump scare moment, but I was playing, and I had to stop and, like, pause it, and I was just like, like, I was freaked out. There was just one scene that they did it with, and I was just like, God, you fucking people. Like, you know how to scare me to death. I don't really play a lot of games like that, but, like, if you just tell me a game's like Resident Evil 4, I'm like, okay, I'll play more of that.
No, any game, like, for me now, right? So back in the day, it was, I just want to play something, and it's what I had, right? But now, I go through these cycles, but if you give me a game that gives me a feeling, right, that makes me sad, makes me super happy, scares the shit out of me, whatever. If you can find a game that gives me those feels, like, I am sold.
Right.
And oh my God, I love it. Like, just whatever it is, I love it.
I'm trying to think of a game like of course there's games that make me just smile and happy, but like I think lately now, like we talked about before, the socializing with your buddies. Like I play with my buddies playing Grand Theft Auto Online, and it's just stupid fun, and I just fucking laugh and giggle at the stupid shit you can do in that game and how ridiculous it is, and how, oh, my buddy took my motorcycle, so I'm just going to shoot him in the head. Like, and we just laugh about it. It's just so stupid. But I mean, like, lately, if a game makes me laugh, that's my favorite thing ever. Like, some games are funny, or like South Park was amazing. Like, South Park is just ridiculous.
Have you played? You want the new one?
I played both and beat both.
Okay, so I played the original and I thought it was a little bit long. Like, I thought it was artificially lengthened to a point that it kind of bugged me. But I watched, I think Chelsea was streaming the new one, and she kept hitting the wrong button. It kept making her fart, and every time it made me laugh. And I'm like, I'm a child.
There's moments where I just sit there and go, how did you get this in a game? Like, how are you not getting sued right now? When there's a video game, there's a boss in the game who is a real life terrible person in real life, and they used his real name, and I literally, because I don't want to say it because it's just ridiculous. When it happens, you're like, get the fuck out of here. That is in this game. How are they not getting sued by that person who they are just slandering left and right? But
they have some good attorneys. They have to.
They do, and it's awful. And when you play that boss, and he's actually really hard to beat in the game, but it's just terrible. But again, I can't stop smiling and laughing. The shit's ridiculous, dude.
So I had one of those moments today. I'm working on a project with someone in which we're going to be playing some competitive games against each other. So we're looking at a bunch of competitive games. And so I went on Steam and I bought Genital Jousting. And
say no more.
I booted this game up, and like the first screen that comes up, it's like, this is going to have real depiction of penises and penetration. And I got my phone out, I took pictures, and I sent it to everyone I could think of.
You're like,
and then I started
video games 2018. Look at this shit.
Yeah. No. The actual tag on it was like $7 well spent.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. And so I decided to play just a little bit to see what it was, and I started playing this game, and I did not stop laughing from the second the game started up until I shut up. I was just laughing, like full body, like laughing at this game. I was like, oh my God, this is so great. Like, this is what it's about. Like, finding a game that gives you feels is so good.
The game I will say that made me laugh the most, not because it was funny, but because I just had the best time playing it, was Overcooked with my wife.
That's amazing and frustrating all at the same time.
It is. It's a game that will cause great joy and also make you almost dial that final button on a divorce lawyer. Like, you you're sitting there like, when you're screaming at your wife, get me the fucking potatoes. Like, there's no reason to scream that at your wife, but when you play that and like you just goof up, and it's just, again, you get super frustrated, but there's a fine line between super pissed off and frustrating and laughing your dick off. Like, it is just... Sure. But when you're when you're just like, I need clean dishes now. You need clean dishes. I need those dishes. Like, it's so funny because like there was moments where we paused it and we're just crying, laughing. I'm like, we have to restart this because it just got chaotic so fast.
The real question is like, did you have to have makeup sex after the game because it was that vicious?
No. So like we always ended there was only a couple times. We basically got to levels, and I'm one of those people, like, I want to get 3 stars before I move to the next level. Like, I want to just...
Oh, that's tough in that game.
But, yeah, I learned that real fast. You can't do that shit in that game. So there was moments where I was just, like, trying. I'm like, fuck, we missed it by, like, 10. And we get super pissed off, and then she would get to a point where she's just like, I don't really want to play anymore right now because this isn't fun. I'm like, all right, fine. I quickly learned, just go to the next stage and then come back later. And then, like, we beat the game, and then we come back later and stomp the shit out of those levels that we had such a problem with. And I'm like... All right, I'm good. Dude, please, Overcooked. Whoever makes Overcooked, do 2. I'll pay 60 for it. I don't care. I just had the blast. It's such a blast playing that.
It is such a good game, and I have not beaten it. I've not gotten anywhere close to beating it. It's one of those games I'll only play like when certain people come over to the house, and then the wife will play with me. I need more of that.
Well, as far as what you're doing now, obviously you're doing a lot of stuff now. Feel free to promote yourself right now. Tell me all the 9 podcasts you're on or 37 websites or something. What is it that you do again?
So I started out doing a show called Generational Gamers with my buddy Ben, and it has evolved a number of times, and now it's just he and I catching up every other week because he has moved out of state. And we talk about video games. He is actually way more interesting to listen to than I am as far as like video game stuff. I do a show called Shelton Forgotten with Dave Moore. who you abandoned one time, and it makes me laugh very hard.
I swear to God, it was bad timing. I promise you, Dave.
No. We're going with abandon here because it makes me laugh harder.
Okay.
So we that show has also evolved a bit. When it first started, it was we're gonna take a game that we have been meaning to play for years and finally play it. And he plays one, I play one, and we talk about it and whatever else. It's now come to we talk about that for about 3 minutes and whatever else the hell we want to talk about.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think he and I have something new we're going to be starting, but just follow me on Twitter at Jonny_Casino, JONNY_Casino, and you'll find out whatever I do. But one of the most, I'd say one of the coolest things I do is Chelsea Capri and I do a parenting podcast, and it's not a show that is ever going to give you advice. It's really our cry for help. And we both pick a parenting topic, and then we pick one from, if someone ever writes into us or whatever. But we talk about parenting stuff and her being in Canada and we come from very different backgrounds. So we give our own takes on stuff, and we talk about parenting and whatever else. So that's called Apparently, the Parenting Podcast. So check out Apparently.
And of course, I'll have links for everything. So that way people can check it out and everything, and also check you out on Twitter.
Yeah, because apparently, I think that's the one I'm most proud of these days. It's fun.
Absolutely. Well, again, being a parent's fun, and you can listen to that, and maybe I'll write in about something my son did on his phone. I'll think about it.
Yeah, do that, and we'll be like, oh,
good Lord,
shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you being on and sharing your stories, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was a lot of fun.
All right. And again, thank you, Jonny, for being on the show. If you guys want to check him out, he is on Twitter at Jonny, JONNY_Casino. You can check out all the different podcasts he does, apparently with Chelsea Capri, Forget Being Cool with Dave Moore. There's just a bunch of different podcasts he's on, so feel free to check him out on Twitter there. Also, while you're at it, if you want to go looking for some cool things to go check out, I now have a YouTube channel for the podcast, so you can listen to the podcast on YouTube there. I'm going to try to implement more, maybe some streaming of retro gaming, doing some video episodes with some super awesome guests. So look forward to that in the future. And again, if you guys want to be on the show just like he was, go ahead and send me a tweet at GUG Podcast on Twitter, or at my personal Twitter, which is at MitchPower1116. Of course, subscribe, share, whatever. You guys already know the drill. I say it every single week, but again, I really appreciate your support. I'm actually almost coming up on my 1-year anniversary, which to me, I really am surprised that I was able to get to the 1-year mark. Just super happy, super grateful to have cool people to talk to, and look forward to talking to more of you guys each and every week. So again, thank you for listening to the show, and I'll catch you guys next week with another new episode. See ya.